really hard, and I know all of you have too for the past 3 days. Can you believe it's only been 3 days and people have music prepared, poems prepared, songs prepared? This is a really talented bunch of people. So, yay!
Okay, this play is called It Could Be Worse. It's adapted from a Jewish folktale from Poland. From where? Poland. From Poland. A long time ago, there was a family that lived happily in a small, quiet house in Poland. One day, they learned that the grandparents were coming to live with them. The child was very excited about this, and so were the parents. But the parents worried because their house was very small. They knew that when the grandparents arrived, the house would become crowded and much noisier. The farmer went to ask the rabbi what to do. The rabbi says, "Let them come." So the grandparents move in. They have a lot of furniture, which goes in the living room where they sleep, and in some other rooms too. It is crowded and noisy in the house. So the father goes back to the rabbi. "I did what you said, Rabbi. Now my in-laws are here, and it is really crowded in the house." The rabbi thinks for a moment. Then she asks, "Do you have any chickens?" "Of course I have chickens," says the farmer. "Bring them into the house," says the rabbi. The farmer is confused, but he knows the rabbi is very wise. So he goes home and brings all the chickens to live inside the house with the family. But it is no less crowded and noisy. In fact, it is worse, with the clucking and pecking and flapping of wings. The farmer goes back to the rabbi. "I did what you said, Rabbi. Now with my in-laws and the chickens too, it is really crowded in the house." The rabbi thinks for a moment. Then she asks, "Do you have any goats and donkeys?" "Of course I have goats and donkeys," says the farmer. "Bring them into the house," says the rabbi. The farmer is confused, but he knows the rabbi is very wise. He brings all the goats and donkeys from the barn to live inside the house. It is no less crowded and noisy. In fact, it is much worse, with the chickens clucking and flapping their wings, and the goats and donkeys bawling and butting their heads against the walls and one another. The next day, the farmer goes back to the rabbi. "I did what you said, Rabbi. Now my in-laws have no place to sleep because the chickens have taken their bed. The goats and donkeys are sticking their heads into everything and making lots of noise." The rabbi thinks. She looks very puzzled. Then she says, "Aha! You must have some sheep." "Of course I have sheep," says the farmer. "Bring them into the house," says the rabbi. The farmer knows the rabbi is very wise, so he brings the sheep inside. It is no less crowded and noisy. In fact, it is much, much worse. The chickens are clucking and flapping their wings. The goats and donkeys are bawling and butting their heads. The sheep are bawling too. And one sat on the farmer's eyeglasses and broke them. The house is loud and crazy, and it is starting to smell like a barn. Completely exasperated, the farmer goes back to the rabbi. "Rabbi," he says, "I have followed your advice. I have done everything you said. Now my in-laws have no place to sleep because the chickens are laying eggs in their bed. The goats are bawling and butting their heads, and the sheep are breaking things. The house smells like a barn." The rabbi frowned. She closed her eyes and thought for a long time. Finally, she said, "This is what you do. Take the sheep back to the barn. Take the goats and donkeys back to the barn. Take the chickens back to their coop." The farmer ran home, did exactly as the rabbi had told him. As he took animals out of the house, his child and wife and in-laws began to tidy up the rooms. By the time the last chicken was settled in her coop, the house looked quite nice. All the family agreed their home was the most spacious, peaceful, and comfortable home anywhere. The end. We would like to thank the cast